Parasites definition is anything that feeds off a host, or in Latin terms, an unwanted dinner guest. So
Ugh.
those are the actual definitions if you go in and look in a dictionary. Basically, what they are is they're energy vampires. They steal our nutrients, they steal our energy, leaving us with basically nothing. And we're wondering why we're all so sick all the time.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Birth Lounge podcast. If you had to choose any app that you love so much and couldn't live without, what would that be? Well, I'll tell you what mine is. Mine is the Birth Lounge app. And in my pregnancy, I have literally checked in with it every single week to keep up with what my baby is doing developmental wise. I don't really find any benefit of those apps that tell me, oh, your baby is the size of an asparagus, because well, they're really not, I guess. But what I do want to know is, what is my baby working on this week? Are they able to see light in the womb? Are they able to move their arms and legs? Are they practicing breathing already? Is their vernix formed? You know, that fun little birthday frosting? Do their eyes actually work? Do they even have eyelids? What about eyelashes? What about fingernails, toenails? I want to know if their little knees and their elbows are able to bend. Well, that's exactly what you get in the Birth Lounge app. Every single week from week 6 of conception, I'm telling you exactly what your baby is doing developmental wise and exactly what they are working on. Plus, I'm going to help you understand what signs and symptoms you might be experiencing and why those are popping up in your pregnancy. The things that we experience in pregnancy are not happenstance. They're not random. They typically have a reason that they are happening to us. And I want you to know not only why it's happening, but also what can you do about it to alleviate the symptoms you don't want to have and to really relish and enjoy the symptoms that you are enjoying. Another thing that you're going to find inside the Birth Lounge app that I absolutely love are evidence-based articles. And they're broken down in a structure that is glanceable. So these are articles that, let's say you are sitting in the lobby of your OBGYN's office or your midwife's office, and you have just a few minutes before your next appointment, and you realize, oh shoot, I don't even know what I'm going to be talking about in these next, let's say 8 minutes, if you're lucky, with my provider. What should I even be thinking about at this stage of pregnancy? You can go to your Birth Lounge app and look up exactly where you are in pregnancy and topics that should be on your mind. Every topic is not only going to link all the data for you to peruse and to start to talk about with your provider, but I also give you questions to prompt your provider so that you can kick off these conversations to help you have an informed and empowered pregnancy. I want you to have the confidence to know how to initiate these conversations, plus have the science and the data to back up whatever you are feeling and whatever decisions you are making so that your provider knows that you are smart and educated and informed. And if that's the case, your provider is going to be much more likely to be open to these conversations, and they're not going to feel like you're getting random misinformation off the internet. Plus, if they don't believe you or they say, well, where's that data come from? You can simply share your phone with you and say, here's the research article that I learned it from. Not only does this position you as the authority of your own pregnancy, instead instead of handing that power away to the hospital system, but it also opens up a conversation that allows you to teach your provider a thing or two, which personally I think is really cool. Head to your app store, whether you're iPhone or Android, and download the Birth Lounge app to get your hands on the weekly fetal development and evidence-based articles so that you can have an informed and confident birth. All right, you guys, on to today's episode. Let me ask you something. Have you guys seen that viral video of that bear that is walking in the forest and he has like this, no lie, like 6 to 8 foot worm hanging out of his butt? Like a true parasite just dragging behind him. It is mortifying. My mouth dropped open, and then I proceeded to watch the video about 15 times after that because it was just so unbelievable. Well, parasites are all around us. They're in the food that we eat. They're in the soil that we walk on. They are literally everywhere. And if you have a pet at home, you probably have even more exposure than your average human. Also, did you know that we're one of the only countries that don't do regular parasite cleanses? When I tell people this, they usually don't believe me. And then I challenge them to ask someone in their life that is either from a different culture or grew up in a different country. And no lie, they always come back and text me and be like, HeHe, you were right. And I'm like, I know, I'm telling you, parasite cleanses are very different than these like juice cleanses or the celery cleanses that you see online. We're not talking about charcoal detoxes. We are talking about truly rebalancing your body and your whole like ecosystem within your health, within your personal health, to get rid of parasites that could be impacting your mental health. They may be eating away your gut health. They could be throwing off your serotonin, which may be making you more anxious. What if I told you that if you have a parasite, you're more likely to grind your teeth at night? I'm so excited to be being joined by the worm queen herself, Kim Rogers, who is not only the founder of Rogers Hood and the creator of the Purify Parasite Cleanse, but she's also worked in Western medicine for over 20 years and has run 25 healthcare colleges, was a professor, is an author, and holds 2 healthcare degrees, all while dealing with her own chronic illness. Yeah, you got that right. She had a parasite that literally almost killed her. And then she started to look at natural ways to help herself heal, and then she took a turn for the worse. Kim and her husband actually had thought that she was going to die. So they started to make end of life plans, you guys. That is when she discovered the healing powers of mushrooms and started to see some light at the end of the tunnel. She started to have a little bit of hope. Within 3 days of trying a parasite cleanse as really a Hail Mary to keep herself alive, she saw things like flukes. If you don't know what that is, it's a nasty parasite, roundworms, and pinworms. Disgusting. She decided to make a video talking about her parasite cleanse, and well, of course, it went viral because what in the world? Kim now helps millions of people rid their bodies of unwanted parasites, candida, heavy metals, and other toxins so that they can start to live their best life. In today's episode, we're going to talk about how do you actually get a parasite and how do you test for it. Well, let me just go ahead and kind of ruin the surprise. It's a poop test. But if you didn't know, even your local water supply might have parasites in it. And remember when I said if you have a pet, you might be at an increased risk? Well, almost all of our pets have parasites. So if you let them on your furniture, if they sleep in the bed with you, or if you're like me and you love to make out with your little Maximus, then you probably also have a parasite. And if you're also like me and you love sushi, you're not giving it up, chances are you have some worms inside your tummy. You guys know I've been eating sushi in pregnancy, so of course I had to ask Kim about that. What about the parasites that I have definitely picked up from eating raw fish? Are they going to transfer to my baby? What about my placenta? Should I be worried about my baby being born with parasites of their own? And then, of course, I'm going to ask her about actually getting rid of these things. Are we truly going to have a toilet full of worms? And if you haven't heard the rumors online about full moons making the worms come out of your butthole, I'm asking her about that too. She's going to tell us about taping your butthole over a full moon so that you can see what comes out. I'm not kidding you guys. This episode is going to absolutely rock your socks and probably your shirt and your pants and your sneakers too. And then we're going to leave you with some information and education about how often you might want to consider doing a parasite cleanse depending on your lifestyle, and talk about what other cultures do and how often they do parasite cleanses. I cannot wait for you to hear all of this information. And if you're watching on YouTube, get ready to see that little dangly thing in the back of my throat about 1,000,000 times, because I spend about 90% of this episode with my jaw completely on the floor. Consider me shooketh. So without further ado, Kim, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
You are literally a legend in my mind. I think that what you're doing is amazing. You're building this empire. You have this really infectious personality. Is that kind of taboo to say since we're talking about parasites? But your personality is almost like a parasite itself, but a good kind where you get
Yeah.
into people and you're like, hey, things can be different. And also, this is normal around the world. It's really just the US that looks upon it as odd and weird and bizarre. And so I'm so stoked to talk about this. It's not anything I've ever covered on the show before, but I think that it's so applicable to every one of
Mm.
us. And I got to be honest, what drew me to you in the beginning was I saw this reel, and you were talking about if you're a pet owner, check. And you let your dogs like outside and then inside your house, check. And then you let them sleep with you, check. And then you let them kiss you on your face, check. And you were like, and if you treat your dog like their children, check. You probably have parasites. And I was like, oh my God, I definitely have parasites. I just scored 5 out of 5 on that test. Like, definitely.
Not 100% you wanted in that moment.
I
You're
mean,
like, I'm a high achiever, but I really did not want to get an A on that test.
I have always been an A+ student. I'm not sure I want an A+ on that one, but I started to really dive in and I was like, all right, I got to do this. I have got to start getting serious about my health and particularly about parasites. Now, for listeners, in all transparency, I had scheduled to do a parasite cleanse in March. You guys know I fell pregnant in February, so I reached out to Kim and I was like, Kim, I'm so sad. I'm literally crying. I'm so sad I can't do the parasite cleanse. Can I do it in pregnancy? And she was like, you should wait until you're doing it afterwards. So I'm going to have a kit. I will take you along with you after this baby is born, and I promise to take you along on that journey. But today we're going to talk about all the things that we need to know about parasites. How do we get them? What do they do in our body? They wreak a lot of havoc that I think a
Mm.
lot of people are used to almost passing off as other symptoms, or even
Yeah.
treating other symptoms when really the root cause could definitely be a parasite. And then I definitely want to talk about just like what your Purify kit is like and what people can expect when they experience it. So let's start at the kind of the very base knowledge. You've built this community around gut health and around parasitic education. Explain
Mhm.
to us in very simple terms what parasites actually are and why we should care about them.
Parasites definition is anything that feeds off a host. or in Latin terms, an unwanted dinner guest.
Ugh.
Those are the actual definitions if you go in look in a dictionary. Basically, what they are is they're energy vampires. They steal our nutrients, they steal our energy, leaving us with basically nothing. And we're wondering why we're all so sick all the time. So, for me personally, when I did my first cleanse, I felt amazing. And I wanted to share that with everybody. I wanted everyone to know how I felt because I was also in this self-healing journey that I had hit a plateau. I couldn't budge on anything. And so I started really looking at what other options could be causing me to have these health problems. And some people that have listened to me before, I had stage 4 endometriosis and beginning stages of cervical cancer. And I was 29 years old. I'm 46. I had a hysterectomy and I've had 13 surgeries because of endometriosis. And looking back, I think, was it really all endo or was there other things that they just were not aware of that were causing me to have all of these problems? So when I did my first cleanse, there's this pain that I would have on my right side, and I can't have any more surgeries. I'm tapped out. I'm just creating more scar tissue in my body, is what my surgeons have said. But I had 5 surgeries, a hysterectomy, and then 5 surgeries after. So it's not like I just all of a sudden was cured after my hysterectomy. I had been on chemo, I had been on birth. I was through the whole Western medicine gamut with endo. So I did the cleanse, and within 3 days, that's when I saw flukes, roundworm, and pinworms in the toilet. I didn't even have to dig. They were just floating at the top, and the pain has never been back. So, of course, I wanted to shout that from the rooftop because if someone could just do a quick 30 days and then they see that, and then you're like, oh, then maybe I don't need to go have some radical life changing surgery or go on bone crushing chemo meds. Maybe I could just try this, see if this works. And then if that's the case, then I can start digging around and seeing if there's more root causes than just parasites. For me personally, it's parasites, mold, and Lyme. I have active mold in my body. My mom and I have the same mold. We now know where we got the mold when I was born. My mom's also been sick most of my life. That's what put me into medicine. And so now we know basically the entire like gene pool that's going back for me and my mom. So it really is more than just some trendy parasite cleanse. But anyway, I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent there.
No, hey, I welcome your tangents. I'm super curious of how many Americans do you think actually have parasites? And should we just all assume that we have a parasite or two living in us at this point, especially if you're in your late 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s,
I think every human has a parasite.
even
Uh,
babies?
they can be transferred to from the mother, especially if you breastfeed. That is a pathway, and they exit out of that. That's why we say don't breastfeed and do a Purify cleanse because it's a pathway. And if they didn't have one, and then all of a sudden they're breastfeeding with you, that's a pathway. They can live in there, and you can get it. Also, the herbs and all of that can be too much for a little baby's body. So we say no pregnancy, no breastfeeding, no under the age of 3, and that's dictated from the herbs that we use. That's not really me. So what I usually say to that is you make your own decision. But children are out there eating dirt. They're rolling around in dirt. They're playing with dogs. They're eating just like us. So, yeah, all human, all warm-blooded animals can have a parasite. And they say through the CDC, their number, which was from like 4 years ago, is 60 million Americans have a parasite. That's documented through the CDC. But the thing about that is that you have to have a test from Western medicine through like LabCorp or Quest in order for that number to count. My test went to Mexico to test positive. I sent the same stool to LabCorp and to Mexico. LabCorp came back negative and then has a thing at the bottom that says this is not in lieu of a parasitic infection. And then Mexico's came back and I had crypto and my husband has roundworm D. fragilis. So LabCorp missed it. That number then that came from Mexico does not count towards the 60 million. So unless we have accurate, available, affordable testing, then there's no real way to determine if 60 million Americans or more have it, if that makes sense. Now, Other countries, they just go and deworm. Like you can go to the pharmacy, you can go and deworm by buying synthetics at the pharmacy, but you can't do that here in the States. It's very regulated. So that's where our numbers are weird.
Okay, so if LabCorp missed it,
Mhm.
what's that about? Are they not testing for the right parasites, or I guess like how did that happen?
So funny, we all know this, right? Funny that I know this. And I know this because I come from academics. I come from the world that I trained lab technicians. And so the fact that this happened to me is ironic. And that's how I know that this is my purpose. So when I was training lab technicians for years, we gave them 3 minutes. You got 3 minutes to look at the stool. Now, there's a lot of things that are wrong from the get. They don't look at it live. So you, as the patient, go and poop in this container, right? So you scoop the poop, you send the container. That's 1 day of what your gut looks like. You really should be doing it for 4 days because parasites cycle, and you should do it over the full moon. But they don't notify us of all of this. I didn't even know this when I was training people. So that's how I know that this is a miss. So you should scoop. You get 2 vials, so you scoop a little in your first vial, go put it in the fridge. Your second vial should be the second day. Scoop a little bit more in that second vial. Go put it in the fridge because letting it sit out is literally just killing whatever you're trying to show them. So then you get your first file back out on your third day and you scoop again. Now you've got 3 full days of what is going on. And if something hatched, they can see it. Then you get your fourth day in that fourth vial and then you keep them in the fridge. You send them off. Now you've just done your due diligence of scooping the poop in a 4 day time frame to give a good snapshot of what could be going on in your gut and in your body. So you send it off. It can take up to 15 days before they look at it. So on that lab slip, it says not in lieu of a parasitic infection because whoever looked at it, which they got 3 minutes, is not a parasitologist. They're looking for only specifics in their eyes that they've been trained for. And they're not really studying it. It's not an emergency situation to Western medicine. So there's a miss. They won't do live blood cultures. That's another really great way to determine if you have Lyme and mold and parasites in your body because they're not just in our gut, they're in our blood, our tissue, and our muscle. So you can get a live blood culture. The doctor will sit with you, look at under a microscope multiple rounds of blood that you've given. And if there's a parasite, it's going to move. Like I have a ton of videos that people have sent me that got live blood cultures that they know they have a parasite and bam, done. But unfortunately, this is so unconventional that they don't really accept it, right? They're not accepting of what I'm saying or what these actual facts from other countries have done. And other countries do this. This isn't just some, oh, Worm Queen came on the scene and made all of this up. No, when I went viral, I researched everybody's medical. I can tell you what Germany does, Mexico does, the Amish does. Like I went down this wormhole and I've been down it for 4 years. But that's really why. That's why.
And it's normal in other countries, right? Like they don't just do it once a year either. They're doing it a couple of times a year because we know that we need to be
Mhm.
regularly cleansing our body from the parasites that get in us. Isn't that right?
Yeah, because they can hold on to things. They can hold on to viruses, bacteria, heavy metals, mold spores. They can hold 6 to 8 times their weight in all of these other environmental toxins. They all love to hang out. They literally feed off of us. They can steal up to 90% of our nutrients, which who can live off 10%? Like, when you're pregnant, you have a live being you're trying to take care of. Okay, when you have a parasite, you have a live being you're trying to take care of. You just don't know it. You just don't know that this thing is alive in you until you do some sort of a cleanse or you get tested and it's legitimate. So I think that's where the huge miss is. And we had talked a little bit about this before, is that we're just not in a space that we've been taught in our lifetime. We've been indoctrinated to think the doctors know everything. We know nothing. And you've been shamed if you go and question, gaslit, if you go and question them. I know I would go in and question things. Like I thought I had worms like 7 years ago. And it's documented on my phone because I'm one of those age groups that I screenshot everything to remind me to come back to it. It just makes sense. Like for me, it really made sense when all this went viral because I typed in parasites. And all of this research that I had done when I thought I had worms a few years ago came up. Colonics, wormwood, and then I just buried my head in the sand because they're a frequency and they don't want you to know that, and they're on a live frequency inside of your body. They vibrate at a certain frequency and it brings your frequency down. That's what's so difficult about having parasites is that it's not uplifting you. It's bringing you down, making you tired and making it so that you're not absorbing your nutrients. So you're not getting the energy you need in order to get rid of them because it's a whole circle thing with them.
Wow. Okay, I want to circle back to that in a little bit, but if
Yeah.
someone wanted to ask for that blood culture that would look at
Mhm.
parasites, what blood tests are they asking?
You can go and Google live blood culture. There isn't a lot of doctors out there that do it. I don't know why. All they're doing is taking your blood, putting it on a slide and looking at under a microscope, but you have to have a good trained eye and a specific microscope to do it. So I think there's a place like I live in Seattle and I think there's a place here that's $150. A parasite test to Mexico is 250.
Wow.
I think it's just people just don't know where to go and get it. And that's what's made me so viral about all of this is you can go into my link tree and I give you everything.
Mhm.
Everything. I've got doctors in there that believe everything that we're talking about here because they've seen it. They've either treated me or they're a patient or they've treated me mostly that are in my account. But I have ways to get tested independently. I have information. Everything I do is free except for my kit. And my kit is what helps me continue to do this in order for me to continue to be loud and make noise.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, so what would you say are like the most common places that we're getting parasites? Obviously, our pets. Something else
Mm.
that I've learned from your page is sushi, which I eat sushi all the time, even in
Yeah, I did.
pregnancy. What else are we thinking about when it comes to parasites?
Walking barefoot. Now, I think grounding is very important,
Okay.
but you can clean the area that you're going to ground. You can put diatomaceous earth in there,
Oh,
make sure no other pets go to the bathroom. I was on a podcast and I was saying barefoot, right? And the host looks at me and he goes, well, I ground. And I go, that's fine, ground, but don't ground where your dogs are. And he goes, well, I ground when I'm cleaning up my dog's poop. And I'm like, Sean, don't do that.
you're literally
Don't do
getting
that, friend.
parasites.
Literally, he has them. Him and his dogs have them, and his fiance. Yeah, you want to clean the area. You want to make sure no animals go there because this is a warm animal problem. This isn't just your dogs have it or your cats have toxoplasmosis or roundworm. It's all animals. Literally, they're out there eating raw everything, right? And their bodies are just different to process certain things. You can see it in squirrels and raccoons. So anywhere that an animal can go to the bathroom, keep cleaning that area to ground. I'm not saying don't ground. Don't come at me with the grounding people because I've had the hate in the comments and I'm like, yeah, I'm just educating you to clean the area. Don't be out in the dog park walking your dog, letting your dog poop, and then I'm going to ground here. No, don't do that. Do it in an area, right? Or get a PEMF mat if you need to like ground in a clean, healthy way. So, fresh water is a huge place. Schistomiacin, I got schistomiacin from fresh water that I would always jump in, and I probably swallowed some. So, water is a big issue. My water was contaminated in Hoodsport. That's what started this whole journey. I already had worms, but what was happening was our water was contaminated. So I was being pelted with worm water. I wasn't drinking the water, but I was being pelted. My husband still did the bidet, which was just shooting worm water up his butt. I stopped using the bidet. He kept using it because he didn't believe this was a thing. And then all of a sudden, he was like, I wonder if I am shooting worm water up your butt. I'm like, yes,
You
I've been
are.
telling you this for months. Because, like, as soon as we found out our water was contaminated, because I sent it off to get tested in Mexico and it came back positive for nematodes, because our country doesn't test for nematodes. They'll test for parasites, which are Giardia, D. fragilis, and Cryptosporidium parvium, which is parvo, which is what kills puppies. That's what I had. I had crypto and he had D. fragilis. So it's a waterborne parasite. And usually, when you hear them say you should boil your water, it's because they're not wanting you to risk getting Giardia, crypto, or D. fragilis. That's why you're boiling your water. And foodborne illnesses are parasites. At the bottom of all the menus, it's a parasite. Anything raw has the opportunity to have a parasite on it. That's what those two things mean when we hear them in our world.
So, what about people who have filtration systems either in their refrigerator and they're drinking filtered water
Mhm.
or whole house filtration systems? Oh, your smile tells me it doesn't work like that. Oh
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I have solutions, you guys. So just so you know, anything that I talk about, there is a solution. And the solution isn't really always mine. It's just I've had the problems, and so I put it in my link tree. Okay, so here's the deal with the water. You're showering in water, right? You're showering in unfiltered water, and you absorb 2 cups of water every 15 minutes and everything that's in that water. Your least worry is parasites, to be honest with you. Pharmaceuticals, heavy metals, like arsenic. There's so much inside of our water table right now that's an issue that you should be filtering your water. Now, I live in an apartment as well. I have a log home over in Hoodsport, which is where all of this went down, is where our water's contaminated. I moved to Seattle. I test our water's contaminated here as well. So what do I need to do? I live in an apartment right now. I have 3 filter system underneath my sink. I don't have any hot water on my bathroom sinks. They're all just a cold water filter underneath. It's like 200 bucks. And then I filter everything. So I have a filter that's on my shower because I was showering in the warm water. I was washing my produce in the warm water. I was brushing my teeth in the warm water. I was washing my hands and putting my contacts in, and I had a worm in my left eye. So, all of these things, and just listening to the worm part of it, but I was contaminating myself with heavy metals, pharmaceuticals, parasites. Like the water is not as great in our country as what everyone thinks. And that's ice. Like you go to Mexico, would you drink the water in Mexico? No. So don't drink the water in our country because it's just as bad, if not worse, because we're in denial that our water is trash.
no.
Right. So that's the thought process. I don't get ice in anything. I don't drink tap water. I only drink bottled water. And I'd rather have some plastic in my bottled water than the parasites that I know are in the water. So that's my thought process when I'm trying to avoid something. I'm very conscientious about it. And I do travel with my filters. I do travel with filters. And some of the water, like here, it's disgusting. If you go back and look at my account, I went to New York. We did a billboard in New York in October, and 2 showers, it was a black. The filter was white, it went black. And in Seattle, usually it's around 5 showers that it goes that color. But New York City's water is the worst. And they're all on TV. Ooh, drink the water. It's no, don't even wash your produce with it because you're just recontaminating your produce. You're not really washing your produce.
Okay, so how do we wash our produce? Is it a vinegar soak? Is it
Yeah.
baking soda? What is
Oh,
killing our parasites?
okay, so here's my soak, and here's what I do. I usually will do it's a two-step process. The first thing I do is 2 cups of white vinegar, a half of a lime, 2 tablespoons of, I like Baja sea salt, which it's a biohack because then it's actually remineralizing your produce while you're soaking it.
Okay.
And then I only use filtered or distilled water, 1 gallon. I put them in a tub and I let them soak for 5 to 10 minutes. I rinse them off with distilled or filtered water. My water in my home is filtered, but if you don't, then you just get gallons of distilled and be okay with the plastic because it's much better than the parasites you'll probably see coming out of your produce. And then I have this other little gidgy gadget from Therasage. It's an ozone bubbling machine. It's about this big. It's $100. You can take it anywhere. But what that does, ozone goes in and removes even more bacteria, more pesticides, and it disrupts any mold that could be on your produce and any parasites that could be in it that first soaked in dew. That takes another 10 minutes. Then I rinse it and my produce stays longer lasting. It's crispy. The color comes right back because there's nothing eating it. So now you've got stuff that's going to nourish your body. You literally have remineralized your produce at the same time you're cleaning it, and you're not potentially causing more issues.
Mhm.
So when I'm out and about and I can't have my own produce, I just don't eat raw produce.
Oh,
It is the number one way to catch a parasite when you're traveling internationally.
wow. Okay. If you're building your baby registry or shopping for someone who's expecting, let me put you on to a little secret. The best gift might not actually be for baby at all. Most people give gifts that are baby focused, but what about the gifts for the lady who made it all happen? Mom. And the best gift that you can give is Cozy Earth. And I'm totally serious. Instead of a wipe warmer or a bottle sterilizer that you'll never use, register for something that you'll actually feel make a difference in your life, like bamboo pajamas that you'll live in through pregnancy and postpartum, or the bamboo bedding that makes those 2 a.m. feeds feel a little bit more enjoyable. Your baby is going to get showered with love. But what about mama? You deserve luxury too. You deserve to be wrapped in softness, stay cool throughout those hormonal roller coasters, and feel human again while caring for your newborn, even when you haven't showered for 3 days. Hey, no judgment here. Cozy Earth products are also sustainably made, temperature regulating, and built to last, which means this is the kind of gift that keeps on giving well past that newborn stage. So whether you're pregnant, postpartum, or gifting someone who is, grab 40% off with code HeHe at CozyEarth.com. Make your registry, but make it feel like heaven because comfort isn't selfish, it's survival. I recently made my registry, and one of the first things I put on it was all of my Cozy Earth necessities. Visit CozyEarth.com and save 40% off with code HeHe. That's HeHe. All right, and I can just hear some of my audience, which, you know what? I love every single one of you all the same, but I can hear some people saying, what about our landfills? I would never buy just gallons and gallons of water in plastic. Is the other option to take water from your faucet or your
Yeah.
refrigerator and
As
just
long as it's
boil it?
filtered. Sure, you can boil it. That's a good
Okay.
idea. You can get a $200 water drop 3 filter system for underneath your sink. It's
Yeah.
very easy to install.
Okay.
It's $200. You can go on Amazon. I have them all over my account, but you can literally just type in 3 filter water drop.
Okay.
And what it's doing is in that filtration system, it's 5 microns or smaller. So, a nematode, which our country doesn't test the water for nematodes, which are physical worms like roundworm, tapeworm, flatworm, whipworm, pinworms. So, physical worms, it doesn't test our water system for that. And so it needs to be 40 micron or smaller, but you're trying to remove more than just parasites out of your water. Each one of these microscopic type of environmental toxins that are in our water have a different micron size. So the smaller you go, the more it's going to remove. So I have 1 to 5 micron filters in my entire house, including my shower, because I want everything removed. Now, when you're showering, if you have a 5 micron filter or smaller, you got to put some add back minerals. So I have a 1 micron filter, and inside of that is charcoal, clay, because it's remineralizing my water at the same time. If not, your skin's going to be dry, your hair's going to break, and it becomes a whole thing. But I've got all of it. You can just literally type in 5 micron shower filter in Amazon and it'll pop up. Those have been tested by me. We love them. They're the best. They're like $50. Everything I'm talking about is under $300. Literally, we filtered our entire apartment under $1,000. And the amount of time and money we've spent trying to clean our bodies, what's a grand at this point? What's $500? It's you have to start with clean soil. And when you start with clean soil, that's clean water, as clean eating as you possibly can get, and parasite cleansing. And for me, it wasn't just parasites that were my issue. It was parasites, mold, and Lyme, but parasites and mold are co-infections of chronic Lyme. And I've had chronic Lyme for 30 years. I got bit by a tick when I was 12, and it's documented. And I had behavioral changes. So I've gone 30 years not knowing what was wrong with me. Then I get all these co-infections, Lyme likes co-infections. And so looking back, should I have had a hysterectomy? Should I have not had a hysterectomy? Should these have been the three things I was tested prior? I would always question my doctors, and they hated it. I'd have to change doctors because I would question them. So that's when I was like, I gotta be my own advocate. I gotta be sovereign, right?
You keep talking about symptoms that presented in your body and in your life that you never really equated to parasites. What are some of the other most overlooked symptoms that a lot of us will say, oh, it must be this or it must be that, but in reality, it very well might be a parasite?
Grinding the teeth. I get everyone with that one. Grinding your teeth at night because they hijack your nervous system. They live in our lymphatic system, and your body doesn't know how to handle that pressure of them kind of worming their way around. They also absorb magnesium and calcium, and you need those things in order for you to be able to stop and to have your body calm down. It's always living in fight or flight. It's always, what is this crazy thing in my body? It doesn't know what an environmental toxin is. Your body doesn't know. So what it does is it creates this hardened shell around it to protect itself. And we say, oh, that the environmental toxin creates the biofilm around it. But in reality, I believe your body is doing that to continually keep protecting it from the environmental toxin that it doesn't know what it is. So, other things is skin issues. I had beautiful skin. And then when my parasites went out of control, I started breaking out. I could never get rid of these dots on my face. I had terrible rashes. I've seen a lot of people do Purify cleansing and their skin issues go away. So skin issues come from the gut and they come inside and then they absorb. They're like going out. And by the time it reaches your skin and you visibly see it, you could have had that in your gut for months. So that's really the biggest issue that I see that people overlook. IBS, IBD, obviously different types of constipation. I had been constipated for 30 days, reached out to my doctors, and they were like, yeah, just take some psyllium husk. And I'm like, why am I not pooping? What is going on with me that is making me not poop? What's the root cause of me being so constipated most of my life? Insomnia, people that are insomniacs. Parasites are nocturnal creatures. They wake up at 7 p.m. They want to be fed breakfast. So if you're eating after 7 p.m., they prefer the sugar diet. So specifically, if you're eating sugar after 7 p.m., I'm a salt craver. I dug into that and I found out they also crave salt. Like it's their jam. Salt and sugar are their jam. And I had terrible insomnia most of my life. Pinworms, I mean, flukes, because I eat a lot of sushi. All of these things contributed to my overall declining health.
What about anxiety and depression? I think a lot of us just think that is part of life and just part of the human experience now. But it makes me think that if you're losing calcium and magnesium and they're eating off of your gut and throwing off your gut health, these are all things that we know are connected to our mental health as well. So if
Yeah.
you're also throwing off your nervous system and you're stuck in this fight or flight, of course you feel anxious and depressed. Could that be a parasite?
Yes, and I grabbed my phone because I wanted to show you guys what I used to look like so you could see how sick I really was.
Wow.
That's how sick I really was.
Oh my gosh. So you just hold what? Is it extra weight? Is it water
All
weight?
of it.
It's just everything.
Inflammation. Yep, my body was trying to protect itself. And so it causes inflammation. It caused me to gain weight, not lose any weight. At that point, I had been a year into my declining life where my husband and I had gone and gotten mushrooms and we had grown them and we were really going out of our way. We had quit our jobs. We sold everything. We moved out to our recreational property to build our log home and say goodbye to me. We had already come to the grieving stage of, I can't get help. I don't know what's wrong with me. Then I started to look like this. And so things really were like getting worse for us. And so we just came to the okay that we were going to be okay with however the end of my life looked. And so we really were searching for things. And this was not something that I thought was ever going to be on my radar, honestly. I forgot what your question was. I'm sorry. I got
No,
sidetracked.
you answered it. It was just about anxiety and depression. And
Yes.
just imagine that a lot of people who, especially if you don't have mental health in your history and it's pretty
Yep.
sudden onset and you can't nail down exactly something that's making you anxiety, anxious or depressed, and you may not even have a mental health history in your whole family,
Yes.
something's got to give. It really might be a parasite.
And usually it is, usually because they literally have their own frequency, their own nervous system, and their own mind. And what they can do is come in and hijack that. I say that parasites are controlling and mold is brainwashing. And when you have these environmental toxins in your body, it is not you to your soul. There are times I've looked back and I'm like, I would never say that. Where did that come from? And now I know where it came from. All the way down to let's talk about Toxo real quick because I think people will have a better understanding of Toxoplasmosis gondii and how it can control your mind. And also Candida, which we all have overgrowth. We all have yeast in our body. And when it overgrows, it turns into Candida, which dictates to us you should eat sugar to feed it so it keeps growing because it's an alive thing in your body, which then can cause hair issues, hair loss, skin issues. Candida can get into your joints, causing psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis. There's so many things, bad breath, tonsil stones, just Candida. That's just one parasite. But then you bring in another parasite like Toxoplasmosis gondii, which is the cat parasite, but everybody and every animal can get it. They just call it the cat parasite because they tell pregnant women don't scoop cat litter. Anyone can get it. Just so you guys know, it's not just, solo to the pregnant woman. It comes from a mouse. It's in the mouse's mind or a rat. And it's sexually attracted to the cat's urine. And so it goes up and snuggles up with a cat. So if you ever see a cat and a mouse playing, get far away because that mouse has toxo and it is airborne. So the cat eats the mouse because the mouse was brainwashed, controlled to think that it needed to go hang out with its bestie, the cat, when in reality, Toxo said, go do that so I can go into my next stage, which is in an enzyme in a cat's gut. And then the cat goes and poops and you scoop it, and now all of a sudden you got Toxo. And then it's one of the few that they say can transfer to your baby. And that's why in the womb, that's why they say don't scoop cat poop. So Patricia Arquette has toxoplasmosis and her daughter has it because she gave it to her daughter in the womb. It came out and it can have a lot of health issues. But a lot of people that go to Mexico, like fighters, they actually will go down and get Toxo because it removes the fear in your brain, your frontal lobe. And then it also makes you be promiscuous. So if you're out there sleeping around and you're like, why am I slutting myself up? It's not you. Go get tested for Toxoplasmosis gondii because that's what it does to the brain. It rewires the brain and attaches itself to that specific thought pattern. It's wild to think that you can have an alive thing inside of your body really dictating to you your emotions. It holds on to trauma. Things will come up when I will do a cleanse and I'm like, I was like 4 because they hold on, they absorb everything. They're a alive frequency inside of your body. You're alive, they're bringing your frequency down, not allowing you to go to a homeostasis level, which is where our bodies are constantly trying to get all day long. That's the whole purpose of the body. Stay at 7 to 7.5, all of those ideas, they're like, no, man, we want to stay surviving. We want you to eat like trash. We want you to sit around. We don't want to be caught.
Man, okay, so if you sleep with someone with toxo, you're kissing them, you're exchanging saliva, you're
Mhm.
exchanging sexual juices, your anal cavity is right there. Do you now have toxo?
You could. You could. There is
Oh,
no scientific proof. Now, if I'm wrong, I will correct myself. But they say that these things can't be transferred that way. However, my husband has Lyme. I have Lyme. We have the same strains of Lyme. He's never had Lyme in his life. So when it's a bacteria, when it's a parasite, when it's in juices, right? It's in the juices. So all of it can be transferred to each other. It's not just, oh, I scooped the cat poop or I got bit or no, like it's all, we're all human and we're all transferring things. Things are airborne. Like I
totally.
don't really even talk about the fact that things can be airborne. They're just small little microscopic molecules. Think about when your dog licks you after it's licked its butt and if it has worms, you get it. So can you imagine if like your significant other is licking you? It's just the same thing, right?
Hopefully they're not licking their butt though.
You just never know. People are wild out
Yeah,
there.
they are. You know
They're
what keeps
wild.
playing
They
in
have
my
toxo.
mind?
They're wild because they have toxo.
They're brainwashed by the parasites. You know what
Good.
keeps playing in my mind is Tom and Jerry, and it is crazy that we have almost been conditioned to think about, oh my God, look how cute that little rat and that little mouse are playing together, when in reality we should be like, "Bah, problem, scary, danger, run away."
I'm now going to do a green screen. I'm going to go and
Good.
get a Tom and Jerry video behind me. I'm going to go Google if toxoplasmosis is what Tom and Jerry was based on. And then I'm going to be like, you guys, ruined core memory for life. If
Yes.
I need it ruined, everyone
Oh
gets
my
it
God. If
ruined.
I have to see this, you have to see this too.
That's right. That's how I feel. If I can't eat salmon,
Totally.
no one can eat salmon. The
Totally.
salmon fishermen hate me. What's even crazier about this matrix of a world that we're in, my niece, who now started working for us 3 months ago, she's great. Her name is Vegas Salmon. I like
Oh
the
no. The
irony. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. So I'm sure when people get an email from her, they're probably like, what is this? Is this a joke? No, that's really my niece's name. That's my sister didn't want to put my name as her middle name. So she might have been Vegas Kimberly Salmon. How worm queen is that?
That is so funny. Okay, on the topic of salmon,
Yeah.
I've mentioned to you, and I am very upfront with my community. I haven't given up my sushi, despite what the CDC and the FDA and everybody
Well,
says.
that's why they're saying it is because of parasites. That's it.
Yeah, okay, but when you look at the Japanese culture, and I try and look more globally than just what the US does, because we get so much wrong in this country,
Mhm.
and we really live in a state of fear-based care, education, rhetoric, everything is
Mhm.
fear-based here in the US. And so when I got pregnant and I looked into the Japanese culture, they continue to eat fish all throughout pregnancy. We also know that fish oil is so helpful in pregnancy. It's really good for our baby's brain development. I have been eating sushi 1 to 2 times a week, every single week since pregnancy. I can see in your face, you're like, oh my God, my heart is stopped for you, HeHe. So I'm wondering, now that we have pretty much determined I'm an A+ student in this realm and I almost guaranteed have a parasite, is my baby at some sort of risk other than toxo? Should I be concerned that my baby is going to have a parasite at birth?
I'm not a medical professional for when it comes to pregnancies, but I think you're okay. And then I think that when you can deworm the child, that's really when you should start doing it. You know what
Okay.
I mean? I don't
Yeah,
think this should be something that everyone is fear mongering or fearful of, but
sure.
I do think that when they become of age, it should just be something that you put into their life. There isn't going to be like all of these issues that your child's going to have because you ate the sushi. But
Mm.
that's why they're telling you to not eat the sushi just to prevent a potential parasite from getting into your womb.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. There's other heavy metals and mercury and all of those things are a legitimate thing that you're trying to avoid. They tell you not even to have caffeine.
Yeah.
So really it's up to whatever you think, but pinworms are they're like lice of the butt, man. They're gonna run all over your child. It's just they're gonna go to school, they're gonna go to daycare, they're probably gonna catch pinworms someday. You're gonna need to cleanse them. But if you just start now and be proactive when you're done having children, you just know you gotta cleanse and then you cleanse your child. That's just really what the message is that I'm speaking is that you've got to be proactive about your health now. We know this is a thing. We know this is an issue. We know that we've been indoctrinated. We know there's problems out there that our food is contaminated. So why not just be proactive about it instead of all of us how we're so reactive in this sick care we're living in?
Yeah. Okay. And tell us how often we should be cleansing. Are we doing it quarterly? Are we doing it twice a year? Are we waiting for symptoms? Are we doing it once a year? And then if we see symptoms, we do it again? What should be our regimen on a loose term, not thinking about individual factors, of course?
3 to 4 times a year. So I
Okay.
say seasonally, and then you can do mini ones in between. So like the Purify kit, which is my kit that I created through my company, it's 30 days. And then I give you enough product that if you want to do mini ones, those 2 months in between, you can do 5 days over the full moon. Or you can use it as digestive aid. So a lot of times if I'm traveling or if I'm going to eat questionably because I still eat crab and I don't eat salmon though. I love salmon. It's my favorite, but I just can't get past what I've seen. I don't eat raw produce out. But if for some reason I did do something or I wasn't able to filter my water, then I go in and I do the Purify kit prior to make my body inhospitable. So they're like, I don't want to stay in this person. I'm out. Because they don't really care who you are. If you're rich, you're poor, you're dark, they don't care. You're a warm host. You're the best out there. You're the best. So they're going to hang out. But if you make your body inhospitable and you're proactive about taking it prior to eating questionably or traveling, then all of a sudden you're going to start to feel better and it's not even going to be something that you think about. This is so shocking to us right now because for 101 years, this is something that has just been taken out of our vocabulary. But in reality, I'm just doing it the way that our ancestors did it. I'm just doing it the way other countries do it. I do a lot of cruises. I'll get on the cruise and I'll ask other people around in that cruise because all over the world goes on a cruise. Hey, what do you do to parasite cleanse? Not once did I get not once. They
Mm.
all are excited to give the information about how they parasite cleanse. We, as Western medicine countries, as well as it's Canada, the United States, and Australia, those are our two or our three top countries that we ship to because we ship worldwide. So you know that they're all Western medicine countries because they don't believe that this should be something that we have regularly put into our life.
What are other countries doing? What do you find when you ask people that?
The Amish, which they're not another country, they live in our country, but they're a sovereign. They do herbs, they
Okay.
do milk baths. If you get a tummy ache, and then as a preventative, they'll put you in a milk bath because tapeworms come out into the milk and then they can grab them and pull them out because you got to get the head of a tapeworm. And then Jamaica does a tea called the bush.
Okay.
So they drink a tea monthly called the bush. And
Monthly, huh? Every
monthly.
single month.
Every month, they'll do a couple of days of a tea. And if you don't do it, the elders get mad at you. And they'll
Wow.
tell you, you got to do this. They're out there really living on that land because it's just an island. So they're out there really living and they're at the mercy of whatever meat comes their way because they have some grow there and then some stuff gets shipped in. So they're really at a mercy of whatever is sent to them. Mexico, they really like their synthetics, which is awesome for us. If you go and do an herbs, I do recommend at times to do synthetics, which are like albendazole and fenbendazole, meb and ivor and all of those synthetics. I do believe there's a place for them when you're really infested, like my husband and I were. I've done a lot of synthetics and then I rotated in with herbs because it shock and awes them. They use wasabi in other countries that they don't like that spice, but it's not a main cleanse. So a lot of countries will do the herbs. A lot of people in Korea have done our kit and say that it tastes just like their medicine.
Mm.
And it's just because we literally buy organic herbs and we soak them for 5 to 8 weeks in our 10,000 square foot manufacturing facility. And then we process the tinctures. So when you take our kit, it's the most herbs I could possibly shove in a container and soak them for months. And then we process them with a tea because I take the medicine out of the herb with alcohol as well as water. Both ways you get medicine from them. So I just learned how to do all of that in order for me to heal my body. And now I just share that with everyone.
And what about food-based things? So I know on the internet people talk about if you eat a lot of garlic or papaya seeds or pumpkin seeds, are these things that we can incorporate in our diet, but they won't necessarily be a cleanse? Or yes, they are some sort of a cleanse kind of on their own.
You're just making your body inhospitable. It's not a cleanse. You're not going to sit and rid the worms and the eggs and heavy metals by eating pumpkin seeds. But if you put pumpkin seeds on raw produce, and that's why they do it, then when you eat that raw produce, if it happens to have a parasite, then it's going into your gut. It's swirling around with the pumpkin seeds, which is an anti-parasitic. And again, the worms go, yeah, I don't want to be in here. I'm out. So all you're doing is creating an inhospitable environment. It's not a cleanse. Now, the papaya seed trend, and I say this is a trend. A lot of people will do it in small amounts, but if you use papaya seeds as an actual like lengthy cleanse, the issue is that papaya seeds create cyanide. And so if you're not binding, and this goes for any anti-parasitic, pineapple juice, pumpkin seeds, papaya seeds, any of these things, you got to bind. Because it doesn't matter that what anti-parasitic it is. If you kill one off, they're dumping everything into your body. So you have to bind. And a binder is something like Ceylon cinnamon and coconut activated charcoal. That's our binder called cinnabon. And then you have fulvic, you have chlorella. All of these things bind toxins and allow them to go out of your bum versus reabsorb back into your body. It's basically a precaution so that when you're doing all of these things, it's not reabsorbing back into your body. And that's what happened to me and Jeremy is that we had all these heavy metals, all these viruses. We literally just went on Amazon and bought a $30 Paragard. And unfortunately, there's no instructions with any of this. So we didn't bind. They were coming out our skin. They were coming out our urine, which is actually normal. They were coming out of our eyes, our nose, our ears. And it's because they were trying to escape because I was making my body inhospitable, but I wasn't capturing with the binder and pushing them out the normal way. They were reabsorbing, they were dumping everything into your body. And that's the day I realized I need to make a kit. I need to just have something where someone can just grab it all in one. They don't always have to listen to me. The instructions are in the box. You order it, it's all there. It's 30 days. You know what to do. You should do it again. Like it's the easiest way that I could reach out to society and be like, this is how you parasite cleanse since our Western medicine country doesn't believe this is a thing.
Yeah. Okay. And what about probiotics? So anytime I talk about gut health, I'm thinking like probiotics, but that's obviously not a cleanse. Will that help either stave away parasites or maybe get rid of them if you have them?
You definitely should take a probiotic and you should make sure it's the right probiotic for you. A lot of people that take a probiotic end up with like SIBO,
Oh.
small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. And that's because that particular probiotic really isn't the pre-pro you need. So you got to be conscientious about that. So what I recommend, because this is good for everyone, is I recommend something like coconut cult yogurt with blueberries. That's your pre and your pro, and it's in food and it's yummy, and you can eat that and then you take the kit. But what's going on with the pre and probiotic is that you have a 22 to 30-foot long intestinal tract. It's like a conveyor belt. It needs to stay smooth. And when you have all of these things wrong with you, H. pylori, diverticulitis, you aren't taking a probiotic regularly, divots get inside of that smooth intestine of yours, and things live in there then. So what the probiotic does is it's one of the things that it does. It helps keep that smooth and keep the microbiome good so that you're not struggling with that in addition to everything else. So then all of a sudden when you have a link that's broken in your conveyor belt, that's when all these issues appear, right? And so a lot of people will say, "Oh, what about doing a colonoscopy?" A colonoscopy only goes up so far, and an endoscope only goes down so far. There's still a ton that you can't see. And so that's where they like to live. They like to live in caves and divots. And if you are keeping your gut smooth, then you won't have a lot of problems. They're just going to slide right out. But because we don't take care of ourselves the way that we intentionally should be, that's where the problem really arises. And so when you have all of these other gut issues, you just got to know you have a parasite in addition to it. I like to take marshmallow. I like to eat marshmallow twice a day, one in the morning or two in the morning, and then none at night. But what it does is it fakes out your small and large intestine, saying that it's like a fake coating, right? So that anything that starts to get pushed out into then my gut is getting coated. And so it's being pushed out, but faking out the smooth muscle. And so it starts to heal and push all that crap out. And that's when you got to go in and remove the crap that's being pushed out of the divots. So it really is like a mechanic, right? A mechanical thing in your body. It's like a car. You're
Wow.
like a car, right? So you get a little giddy up inside of one of the hoses, your car's not going to run. That's what's happened to us as a society in our human body.
I'm picturing just like a bunch of sludge.
Yeah, it's sludge. It's
Wow.
sludge. And then it'll stop. So, like, maybe the top part of your intestine is working, and then the middle part stops working, and then the bottom is still working. So, what happens in the bottom? The bottom's not getting the nutrients anymore. It's not going to continue to work correctly because the middle has damaged. It stopped working. Literally, like when you're at a grocery store, look at how that conveyor belt at the grocery store is working. When one little thing is broken on it, it's still going, but it's affecting the entire process.
Mm.
We're trying to heal that smoothness back. And in order to do that, you got to get rid of all the crap that's divoted inside of that smooth muscle.
Wow. Okay, so tell us about your Purify cleanse because I think when people hear cleanse, especially for parasites,
Mhm.
they're thinking it's really extreme or unsafe, or you're just going to be like on the toilet, sweating, vomiting, having diarrhea everywhere. Like yours is made to be very gentle. And it
Yeah.
was something that I was really drawn to the Purify cleanse kit for is the gentleness. So tell us when we take it, what can we expect from that experience?
It is very gentle. I chose herbs that helped mask any sort of die offs that you could have. I took a little bit of a playbook from Big P where they were like, side effects could include this and this. So my side effects of the Parify kit could include die-offs, which are headaches, flu-like symptoms, diarrhea, constipation. But then I included things like white willow bark, which helps with pain. So that if for someone like myself, I could feel them being pulled out of my body. Like I could feel it. I'm very intuitive with my body. So I needed something in there like white willow bark. I
Mm.
also know that it's very taxing on your liver. So I brought in dandelion root so that you could heal while you're pushing things out. They're literally swimming in and out, creating issues inside of our organs. If you think about when you get a cut, like it's trying to heal. Well, if it's swimming in and out of those areas, opening parts in your body that you can't see. So you got to heal that while supporting it. So I definitely learned a lot about parasite cleansing 4 years ago when I was doing it on my own. And I brought in supportive herbs for all of that. Obviously, cleansing your body is not going to be the best at the beginning. You're going to have some die offs, Herxheimer's, and we actually give you an instructional card with what all of that could be, because of the fact that I want you to know, I want you to understand and be validated that, okay, this can happen and it probably is gonna, but it's okay. We're aware of it and here's what you should take. But it is a very gentle cleanse. It's not harsh at all.
And how long can we expect those symptoms to stick around? We're not talking about like a 30-day migraine or 30 days of constant diarrhea, are we?
No, just a few days of the initial shock for them. And then they start to settle back in and they're like, we're getting taken out. Like it is what it is. But they're dropping eggs and they're peeing and pooping in our bodies. And that's what causes the headaches. And your body is doing what it's supposed to be doing by defending itself to the invaders. And then you're removing them. So your body's doing what it's supposed to be doing, alerting you.
Yeah, I think it's really comforting to know that is normal and safe and expected. And it makes
Mhm.
almost coping with that or dealing with that a little easier because you don't get scared. You're not like, oh my God, I'm having a bad reaction to this. This is expected and this is normal.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so one of the viral videos that you shared, which is disgusting, is that bear that has like literally a 557-foot worm coming out of its butt and it's just carrying it around like its pet behind it. And it made me think about my dog. Do your cleanses work on pets? Do you have something for pets, or do you have an option for pets that you like to recommend?
No, we don't recommend our kit on pets. It's because of the garlic and clove.
Okay.
There is a pet protocol that I just typed up from Dr. Huda Clark, and it's a parsley water that you can make for your animals. So that's an option to be preventative. I do recommend Safeguard, which is a powder that you put in their food like once a month. I recommend deworming your dog once a month. It is definitely not my wheelhouse for animals when it comes to pets. I only really deal with humans, but I if I had a dog again, I would be deworming it monthly with a powder for 3 times because they're really exposed to it way more than we are. They're out there walking barefoot with their paws in dirt. And then I live in the city. So anytime I see a dog out there, I'm like, oh, this poor dog. And then I think, are the pet owners like wiping the paws when they come back inside after walking their dog out here in this nasty downtown filth? And then they're coming in and hanging out. We don't wear our shoes inside. Are you like, why are these dogs? You know what I mean? Those are the things now that run through my mind.
Yeah, I often feel like a crazy pet mom because I do those things. I wipe my dog's
Good.
his paws off, and I put diatomaceous earth all over our yard.
Good.
And I do all these things. I use essential oils to keep bugs off of him, and he's got powders. It's either from Wildly Blended or Blended Wildly. I can't remember exactly the name of it, but we'll link it in the show notes, you guys, about that. But that's what we use to keep. It's not a parasitic, but it's to keep ticks and fleas off of him. And so I do all those crazy pet
Mhm.
things because of your page and because of what I have learned about. Yeah, okay, cool. My last question
Yeah.
is a really funky one, but I've got to know about the itchy butt syndrome that comes with the full moon. You have to tell us, why does our butthole itch like crazy when there's a full moon?
Specifically, if you have pinworms, they come out and lay their eggs.
Ugh.
That's what you're itching is the eggs that were laid in your anus.
Ew. And what
And
about putting tape over your
yeah,
butthole?
that's why they tell you to put tape. That's what we learned in college is if they always have to have proven, right? So you bring that tape into the doctor and the doctor can prove to the insurance that you or your child has pinworms. That's why you're doing it. Because they need the proof. And they don't want to go and sit with the thing in the middle of the night to see. So they're like, just tape the butt, tape it shut. The mom will come out, lay the eggs. The tape will grab those eggs and then bring that tape into us. And we can then prove to the insurance that you have pinworms. That's what that is. Now, pinworms can live in you for decades. They like the appendix. It's where their home is. Their home is the appendix. So the full moon correlation is also pinworms, but it's all worms. And that is exactly why a lot of people are a little out there during the full moon is because your serotonin is high and your melatonin is low and they eat serotonin. That's why they make us feel unworthy of ourselves and sad and anxious and depressed is the serotonin is your happy hormone that they eat.
Mm.
So they're just hopping on the serotonin river, making new waterfront property in your body during the full moon. So
Wow.
my suggestion is you deworm 3 days prior to the full moon. That's when they start to dislodge themselves. That's when you get the most. And that's why they say to do it over a full moon because you can kill more of them.
Wow. Nothing like a little butthole tape to get insurance coverage.
Yes,
How
that's
American
right.
of us.
That's right. How'd you get the pinworms covered? I bought some scotch tape and I taped my ass all the way.
Oh
So
my
I
God.
brought in this lengthy piece of scotch tape. My doctor was super excited.
It's so impressive. That's just absolutely disgusting. I've heard so many people talk about it. Like, my butt just itches around a full moon. And I always think, sister girl, you got worms.
Yeah, you should eat a bunch of ice cream
Mm.
over the full moon and then see how itchy it is. And if it's that itchy, you got to go get a Purify kit. You really should just be Purify Parasite cleansing 3 to 4 times a year. I honestly, if you go to my page and unless you're the news, if you go to my page and you don't think or feel itchy, then I don't know where you're from.
Yeah, something.
Because that's right. That's right. If you come from a Western medicine country and you know that some of these news people are like the UK and you're just like, just deworm, man. I think one of them, honestly, from what my publicist said, she said that someone did come behind the scenes that wrote one of those articles.
Oh, like they bought your kit after writing.
I'm sending it to them.
Yes, I
Yeah, I'm
love it.
definitely not. I'll send them. They can buy it, whatever they want. I'll refund. I don't care. But yeah, I heard that someone reached out to her from one of those articles behind the scenes.
I said, okay, I'm literally terrified after this. Can you please send me a kit?
Totally. How can you not? Really, I have a video that I'm going to post today that's from salmon from August 18th of this year from Costco, and it's
Oh,
swimming in the salmon.
ew.
Costco's the worst because they buy bulk salmon, and the closer to the belly cut, the more parasites. So the more expensive the fish is, or the more expensive the sushi is, it's because it's on the outskirts of the fish, and that's why there isn't possible parasites. But from everything that I've learned, even living in Seattle and going down to Pike Market and hanging out with world renowned salmon fishermen, they say, I don't know what the deal is. All fish have worms, Kim. All fish. Closer to the belly has more, and there can be up to 10,000 parasite eggs in 1 square inch of
Ew.
salmon, which is about the size of what you eat in raw sushi.
Oh my God. Okay, so if you freeze it first, does that not kill them?
No, the only real way to kill it is by boiling them,
Mm.
by heating it up and killing them that way. And a lot of people think, oh, freezing them. But unfortunately, if you go and look at some articles in Russia, a 46,000-year-old worm that was in the permafrost woke up and started eating and giving birth.
Ew.
And that's negative 30 degrees, right? The permafrost. So there's no freezing them. Really, the only way to kill them is by boiling. That is it. The CDC and the WHO say that you have to cook it above 175. But the only time that I've ever known anything dies is boiling.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
Kim, this has been fantastic, absolutely fascinating. From gut health to butthole tape, I feel like we've covered it all, and I really cannot express my gratitude to you enough for being here, for sharing your wisdom, for being so non-judgmental about something that is pretty common and giving us really evidence-based options to help heal ourselves because chances are we all probably have a parasite. If someone was interested in connecting with you, learning from you, getting their hands on one of your kits, where can they do that?
RogersHood.com is my website. You can Google Kim Rogers Worm Queen. You can go on all of my platforms, which is Mrs. Rogers Hood. That's MRSROGERSHOOD On IG, there's a dot between Rogers and Hood. So it's dot Hood. And you can go on Rogers Hood on all of those platforms. We have over 1 million followers. My podcast is What's Eating You with the letter U. And we're going into season 2 next month. And we're really excited. We like to show everyone all these modalities and just how to self heal in a different way than just cleansing.
I love that so much. Honestly, Kim, thank you so much for being here. Listeners, was this not one of the most fascinating episodes that we have ever done on the podcast? From the way that parasites impact our mental health, to the way that you can transfer it to your baby, to the way that you can actually start to get back on your healing journey in a very different way than face rollers and lymphatic drainage. This is just one step deeper into healing your body and getting you to live your best, healthiest, most joyful life. And I'm so excited that Kim was able to join us today. So, again, thank you, Kim, so much for being here. And listeners, I'll see you in the next episode. Be sure to follow Kim on social media. And you can find me at Tranquility by HeHe and at the.birth.lounge. Until next time, head to your app store and download the Birth Lounge app for evidence-based childbirth education and data-driven postpartum support delivered straight to your phone. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I love hanging out with you, and it is an honor to be your go-to gal when it comes to preparing for your baby. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please leave a 5-star review and tell others why they should be listening to the Birth Lounge podcast too. You deserve to have a birth that you love with a provider that values your autonomy and respects informed consent without all the trauma that you so commonly hear about on social media. New episodes air every Wednesday and Friday. Hit that follow button so you never miss an episode. I'm HeHe, and this is the Birth Lounge Podcast.